All right, welcome to this week's Small Business Coaching Brief with Kevin Kays. Kevin, I'm letting the blab world know that we're here. We've already got Bridget on here with us too, so welcome, Bridget. How has this week gone for you, sir?
It's been a good week. Those of you who follow things that go on in Colorado, we got quite a bit of snowfall, but we're in the process of digging out. And fortunately, it didn't interfere with one of my regular TAB board meetings that I had scheduled.
That's right.
Was the day after the big snow, but it turned out.
Did everybody make it?
We had everyone there that I expected to be there, so I consider that a success. It's our last meeting of the year, and as a part of that, we have a few things we do to get our members ready for the next year as part of their annual budgeting process and goal setting process. And that's one of the things I thought we'd talk about today, or at least start to talk about, is sometime back I asked them to start looking at their financials for the year and their forecasting as part of their planning process for next year. One of the things that we did this time around is talk about something that we call the 7 questions. And the 7 questions are something that we developed in the last several years that we go through with TAB members toward the end of the year. And it's a way of focusing them on what matters in the business and what their goals are for the coming year. So I asked each of them to think about it, and we ran through a regular TAB board meeting, but at the end of the meeting, for about the last hour, I asked each of them to address the answers to the questions. Just to start with, the first one is, what were your revenues for this year? Was that a record? Yes, no, you don't know, you're not sure. But what do you expect them to be in the coming year? And that's going to be an increase or decrease? Increase, we hope. Or what kind of percentage? And that is something that people that work with us for a while learn that they need to be aware of what their finances look like. In many cases, when we start to work with someone, they really don't monitor them as closely as they should. But as a small business owner, really important to have a good idea of where you are financially, if at least month to month, if not more often than that, so that you have a good picture of how you're performing against your plan and your goals and what your cash position is like. So that causes. So that causes them to think about just where they are and where they're going to close the year, because obviously this is a question that I'm asking them before the end of the year, but they should have a pretty good picture of where they're going to be, and most of them do, as well as they should be well into, if not finished, with their budgeting process for next year. So that serves as a discussion driver and a thought-provoking item for there.
Well, cool. I think that's so great that you do that. And I know a lot of business owners, I'm sure I'm following that category too, but sometimes, with working with your business and in your business, you don't take the time to assess that, to sit down with your group like you guys did and assess that. And you forwarded me the questions, which is really, thank you for doing that, because what I want to do is maybe see if we can cover just 1 or 2 of them during our 15 minutes here.
You bet.
So one of the questions, which I'm going to post right here, so after you have them talk about their budgets, their goals for 2015, 2016, you cover, it looks like the next question is, what is the one thing that's going to most affect their ability to achieve that budget goal? Can you talk about that a little bit?
It's designed to have them focus on the areas of excellence in their business, and that relates to something that we do in the strategic planning process that I do with each of my TAB members, and that's to determine what their strategic driving force is. What is it they're really good at? Where is their business focus? And what is the one thing that they can do that's going to make that big difference in getting them toward where they want to be? And some of that ties into some of the other questions that we'll cover later, is in allowing the person that runs the business to actually do what they're good at. If they're really good at business development, or if they're really good in some particular area, why they started the business, what is it they're best at, and helping them focus on those areas that they should be concentrating.
And then I think that drives to a question, do they focus on it or do they have somebody else maybe help focus on it, right? As far as like, do they spend that time themselves to do it or do the smart thing and hire someone else so they can do what they do best, like you were just saying?
That's exactly the case. And we find that, I'm sure you found that in your business as I have in mine, there are certain things that we're not particularly good at or we don't enjoy doing. And I think I've touched in earlier sessions that we've done on the bookkeeping issue, for example, of why someone whose time is worth several multiples of what they pay a bookkeeper is spending time doing something that they don't like, that they're not good at, that really takes them away from doing the things that could increase their revenue. If your time is worth several $100s an hour to one of your clients, why are you spending that not only doing something you don't like, but something that you could farm out and then leverage yourself in your time? Similar to people who have maybe an intuitive understanding of marketing, but it's not their specialty. It's not something they're good at. They need to hire someone like you to help them with their marketing and media efforts.
That's right. And thank you for pushing that too. I appreciate that, but that's true. I mean, everybody, and I, like for me, I am not good at accounting. I would need somebody else to help with that and thankfully have some resources for that. So it very much lines up. So I wanted to go to the next question too. And this is helpful for me because when you say words like profit margin, I just phase out, which is just lines up with what I just said about not caring about accounting so much, and I should. But I liked how one of the questions on, and again, it's very much trying to keep it in a goal. Let's keep it in numbers and things we can track. One of the questions you have on your 7 questions is saying our profit margin will go from blank to blank, and you let them define gross or net. So can you drill into that a little bit?
Certainly. It's a way of making sure that they understand what their cost of doing business is and what is most profitable in their business. It doesn't make sense for you to be focusing on a business line that's not particularly profitable when you've got another one that you can spend time on that delivers much more to the bottom line. It also forces them, the business owner, to think much more strategically in terms of what businesses I want to participate in or what areas of my business I want to focus on, in terms of making sure that I'm profitable. And also, by the way, I need to really monitor my cash flow position and my income and outgo so that I am staying profitable, or at least I'm managing the profitability. It gives me a particular goal if I know that my net profit last year was 15%, and my goal is to grow the business. I know that there's a certain, or I should know that there is a certain limit that's acceptable for me to not drop below while I'm growing the business, because I may incur some additional expenses. But to definitely make sure that I know what that margin is and that I have a particular goal towards maintaining or improving that margin for the coming year.
Right. Well, and that ties right in with the next one too. You don't just let them look at it and say, oh, it's going to go from this to this. You also, I'm going to post this next question, which is tied to that question. You make them establish a goal of, well, good. That's great that you're going to watch that. How long and how often are you going to watch that?
Exactly.
So,
because
how often do they do it? Sorry, how often do they usually take a look at it?
At a minimum, as a business owner, you should be tracking this monthly. It's quite frequently, I find, particularly when I start working with people or have initial contact with them, that it is not unusual for someone who runs a small business to really not monitor that. And I get a lot of blank looks when I ask them, what's your cash flow look like? What's your cash position look like? What's your profitability look like this year? And I'll get the, well, I do my own books and I haven't done them for a couple of months. Well, that's really the picture of the lifeblood and flow of the business. And if you're not on top of that, then you're really operating in the dark. And this is designed to encourage them to look at that more frequently. And if you get a much better picture, as a business owner, if I ask you that question, you should be able to tell me off the top of your head at least where you were last month and where you think you are this month.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no shortage. Even if you're doing your own books, things like QuickBooks, you can generate that picture.
Right. Do you find that the accountability of the group of I would be one of those where I'm sitting there and just like, oh, deer in the headlights, you just asked me a question I can't answer. Do you find that the accountability of the group is a little more motivating for the small business owners to say, I need to know this when I get asked this in our monthly meeting?
It does help. Peer pressure does count for a lot. We try not to let people be humiliated. Obviously, that's kind of a grade school tactic, but peer pressure is a powerful motivator. Anything from, you didn't know this last month or 2 months ago when we asked you this, and you still don't know it. Why not?
Right.
It's very similar to, you've been talking about this problem for 6 months and you haven't done anything about it. Either fix it or quit talking. But it is a very strong driver with people, because they come to these meetings because they want the advice that they get from the board, and they take the advice. Otherwise, they are held accountable by the group as to whether they've done it or not, and they hear about it if they didn't.
That's right. That's great. And I think that's great too. Did you, any other things? I know we're going to cover more of these questions too in the forthcoming lab sessions we do. But was there anything that just stuck out from this last meeting, the Wednesday one you had with your TAB board members, other than the 7 questions? Anything else that was just a good takeaway for the next month for them and you?
I think the big takeaway for them and for all of us really is the recognition that you've got to pay attention to your goal process of where you are and implementing your goals. And one of the good ways to keep track of where you are in performing against your goals is to keep track of your finances. That is probably the best place where you can go to understand what's going on with your business.
Right.
As part of that, the realization with many of the members that they really need to get a better picture of what it costs them to do business, what their cost of goods sold. So I think those are probably the biggest takeaways from going through this process.
That's great. Well, cool. Kevin, we're getting toward the end of our 15 minutes. The small business coaching brief is brief, but we are going to be back on, obviously with being on Fridays, we have a couple hiccups with the next couple of Fridays, because next Friday is Christmas Day.
Yes.
I know. I mean, who wouldn't want to just tap into this on a Christmas Day? Hello.
Ooh, I know. I have nothing better to do. I'm sure you don't.
Well, we're going to do our viewers a favor, and we're going to reschedule our blabs for the next 2 weeks. I think we're going to shoot for Thursday. Is that what we're going to try?
I believe that's the plan.
Great. So next Thursday at 10 a.m., we'll hop on for 15 minutes, and we have a few more of these questions to go through, the 7 questions you went through with your board members, so we can talk about those. So that'll be the 24th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So I think you might be in a different time zone, but it'll be the same time. And then the following Thursday again, but then we'll be right back with Fridays. And I just encourage anyone who does watch this and review it to forward questions. If you have small business questions you'd like answered by Kevin, Mr. Small Business Coaching Expert, tweet at him at Kevin Kays, KEVINKAYS Denver. Also, you can, I posted his links to his website in the sidebar here, but he's ready for your questions. And we'll cover some more small business topics in the future. But Kevin, thank you for your time today.
And thank you, and thank everyone for coming in.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this recording, but we'll catch you on the flip side next week.